Hello, welcome back to the Jukem Cinematic Universe. I don't know what I was doing there, but today, for the Pokken content, we are going to be talking about some of the scariest burst modes in this game. I am struggling here, but yes, today we're going to be talking about 5 characters in this game who have a very scary burst mode to deal with. Now, this is ignoring, of course, how much synergy it takes to get into a burst mode. So, you will probably see some characters who might take longer to get into burst mode. Hint, hint. This list is not going to be really talking about like a specific order of like how scary something is. I just want to go over 5 of them that are very scary to deal with, talk about their movesets, maybe some ways to deal with it. I don't know, they're very scary for a reason, but I will be talking about the best for last, and I heavily hinted at it, but you know what, that's not the point. Let's get on to our first one, which is indeed. I think Sceptile's burst is very scary, and I'm totally not biased with this, I swear, but when you compare Sceptile's burst to some of the other bursts you'll probably find in this video, it's not talked about as much as being like super scary, and I don't see why, because like it's just, he has so many changes. This video is going to go over a lot of changes his characters get from going from normal stuff into burst mode, and when you see how much stuff Sceptile gets in this, it's pretty crazy. All of his traps activate quicker. Cooling and field phase are already supposed to be quicker than duel phase, so you can see bullet seeds like literally popping up. Most characters can't even decide to just walk out of it after blocking it because they're so like slow or big. I don't even think Lucario is able to. And then of course there's Leech Seed, where he gets 2 more because why not? And of course they're faster, especially instantaneous in this phase. Like, look at this, like they're literally instantaneous. You could probably get away from that if you block the first throw, but like, because even if you block the other 2, then you're surrounded by the other 2. And if you get set up, it's the perfect line for you to do bullet seeds in. Of course, because the natural speed boost in this burst mode too, you also get dashes like this. So have fun reacting to dash grabs, which, by the way, the grabs also get boosted. Both of them do. Right? They don't just look cool. That is 132 damage in shield phase. And then this one's like, I think it's like 160? Probably more. Yeah, 165. That is a bunch of damage for something that could easily just be, I'm going to counter you. Can't react. Can't react at all. You're just going to have to deal with it. You took that L. You know what's also dumb? This move. It's, you know, a follow-up, so you would expect it to be more powerful. It does an instant phase shift, so that is always good. And I guess it's like to balance it out a bit, because if you're able to do this in the middle of a combo, wall splat them, and then continue the combo, that'd be pretty dumb. Well, it still just does so much damage by itself, like 182, and sure, that's like on the tipper hit, but this is still good damage for what it is. And, you know, it's like frame 1 counter armor, and, you know, can be used for combo enders for big damage. I guess this is another example for like his speed, how he just enters the speed force. His dashes are so good, he can just cancel this into another one of these. And some optimals do get changed because of it, but for the most part, that's just very good for also just shield pressure. And that could just make the opponent, you know, a little more worried of what they want to do, because if they decide to jump, oh, you 8-white them. That's not even done with all the trap related stuff too, because in this phase, he gets a second side white, and you know, it also becomes a lot quicker with how it explodes. And while you won't be landing sideway a lot, this is still covering a bunch of area that just makes the opponent not able to move around much. And sure, it does explode quicker, so you can't really like hide behind it. I guess that could be kind of like a tiny fault for it to move, but it's still covering a lot of space. And Sceptile likes covering a lot of space with all his traps, and with how much more there is, it's just insane. And then of course we're probably gonna be talking about the burst attack for every character, because a lot of them can be very, very cheeky with how they attack the opponent. Sceptile's, while it's always made fun of for being super slow, and while I do hate it because it is super slow, it's still frame 1 counter armor. You can do it on wake up, and if the opponent try to do anything, they always have to be aware of it. And when Sceptile also already has 2 other very good options, actually no, 3, for counterattack options to get out of the corner, which is Detect, regular counterattack, and underrated but Leaf Blade, especially now that's enhanced, it's just very hard to pin Sceptile down. And if you try to delay it, then Sceptile will just jump out of the corner because he has a fantastic jump. And then when you spread out leech seats like this too, you literally control the entire space. You are controlling this entire plane of 2D, and it's easy to play around the field phase, but then you're stuck in this situation too, especially if you're in the corner. That's just a painful situation. And Sceptile is just very easy in this mode to be able to break opponents' guards due to all of his pressure. But when it's close to breaking, not only is that a lot of chip damage, this has 0 scaling on it. So that is fun. There's a bunch of shield break setups. Well, not a bunch, but there's a specific shield break setup you can do in this state with Veltal against weak shields, where you can end with this move after all the chip damage you'll do, and then you'll just obliterate their HP. It's very fun to do, actually. So yeah, all around, insane movement, insane coverage with all those moves, insane speed becoming one with the speed force. He's so fast he can even do this. Isn't that just lovely? And then the most random thing they added for this character is that his forest is bigger because he has a bigger tail. So have fun spacing with this. Is 0 on block. Have fun. All this pressure, especially going like this too. Like I barely tapped his block, and also this mode too. Perfectly sets up for a bullet seed like that, and that's like one of the best OP options you could do in that situation. Like I was mashing A. I did not time that at all. Now for the weaknesses of Mega Sceptile, and while there aren't really many, if any, there are a few quirks that you can take advantage of, not intentionally. For example, his burst attack is one of the slowest on startup in the game when it comes to like when he gets invincibility frames. So if you ended up like grabbing him pretty late after you see the flash, not a reaction of course, but you can get pretty lucky and grab him out of it, and then he just wastes his burst. Another thing you could do when dealing with all those traps is just trying to knock him down, and that can be very difficult, maybe even impossible for certain characters who struggle to get in. But if you do manage to do that, his traps do go away. For example, especially since he's going to be jumping a lot too, so if you get one tiny lucky hit, that could be very good. Burst Wave will also affect this too if he's in the air. Actually, no, Burst Wave will just get rid of the traps too in general, so that could be very good. And then I guess is mostly not so much the character, but the opponent gets cocky when they're doing Mega Sceptile stuff. And this happens sometimes. They'll just like, kind of just not mash, but do their pressure in a way that isn't as unpredictable as how I would usually play without burst mode, just because it works. Like say the opponent just keeps doing this a lot on your block and you're playing a character with a DP. Normally Sceptile can avoid it if he does a backdash for certain DPs like Lucario's, but if they're just going to be dashing in and they're not trying to react and just like turning their brain off, they could catch them off guard, but that's mostly it. Sceptile just is very much has not that many weaknesses besides not having a frame 11, but all these traps just more than make up for it. And this is part of the reason why Sceptile is indeed top 5 in the game, and I will not take any other answer for it because he's a very stupid character, and I'm tired of people saying he's not. If you at all were involved with any part of the olden days of Pokken, you would know the terror of Lucario. Oh, baby. Okay, so I do think Sceptile's burst is probably better in hindsight than Lucario's, but Lucario's is still very good, and it's very scary. Lucario does a lot of damage. He also has an enhanced grab. Not in Field Phase, but this one does more than Sceptile. Oh, wait, no, it's the same amount. But still, it's, you know, a very hard thing to deal with because he also has this move, which does a lot of shield stun, and then you basically have to guess what happens right after. Sceptile has these situations too, but this move is just very noble for being a quick charge move that goes pretty far and puts them in that situation. And if you see the opponent try to counterattack you on reaction, like say you're doing this on an Oki option, then you're able to just cancel it into a burst attack. You can also cancel into other stuff, but you know, burst is the pretty big thing here. And you're not even in a bad position when you do land the burst too, even though you go out of the field phase, because you got center stage, you have plenty of time to go back in, and it's just all around a very dirty thing to deal with. Level 2 Aura Sphere is also pretty good. Actually, level 1 is also really good too. You usually will see that off of burst attack a lot of the time. I'm not sure if it's the most optimal thing to do, but it's a pretty reliable move all around. And you can also glide. It can be situationally useful. It is funny because during a patch, people were like, oh my god, he has a glide now? Oh my gosh. And I'm like, you do realize it's going to be off of this, right? Which he had like since the beginning, but people were just like, oh my gosh, he has a glide now? Oh my gosh. So what makes this mode very disturbing is just how much damage you can do when you have the corner. Because you might remember, Lucario also has this move. And that move did already a lot. So if you're able to get a situation where you're dealing with the opponent pressing buttons, tiny hits, very quick hits too, so he'll have enough time to still use his burst mode right after. It's not like it's going to be a super long combo like how it can be sometimes for other characters. No, it's going to be very quick hits, and he's going to get synergy from winning the phase, and then he's going to keep pummeling you, especially if he has Jirachi, which is a defense buff and attack buff in burst mode, so you're going to have to be dealing with this. 268 damage, and it's not even counting if you get the wall split like this, so you can get a fully charge. Should be said that the second follow-up here is only in burst mode, and that's what makes it also very strong. You can do something like this, but it won't be as much damage as doing it like... But sometimes certain combos may need to do it on the wall because they'll fall off. But, you know, it's still like one tiny problem compared to all the upsides of just having a move like this enhanced when it already does a bunch of damage when you're in those situations. Like, if you were to get this, which 5x is another change, just makes it so it does more damage. That alone did 311. And I'm not even enhanced, by the way. Wait, what does enhanced do then if it's like... I know there's like a damage ceiling, but like, I'm curious. Yes, 8 more damage. That is totally worth it. Now, when you're at the corner, a lot of times characters will want to try to jump out of the corner. Problem is, this 8Y is really good being a projectile with low PSP. I think it's only 3. and it'll obviously wall splat you if you decide to jump. And if you're unfortunate to try to jump, guess what? You're in a situation where this is going to happen. Low scaling 2 for the 8Y, so it's very, very good. Some other move changes I should be talking about. His DP gets enhanced, which, you know, that's a lot of damage for a DP. Instantly phase shift, so it's not like you get a knockdown as opposed to something like this. But, you know, 104 is still good. And if you do want the knockdown, then have fun. And then another great move that's very good for shield pressure besides this is his enhanced 5Y. Now, this 5Y alone can screw over a certain combo that Lucarios will want to use sometimes, because they'll want to end it with this into Force Bomb, but it drops him like a rock for some reason. But that doesn't matter when it's like does a lot of damage just by that, and sometimes you just want to knock them down too, so you just be like, and then you're like, time for your Oki option. It's funny too, because I'm pretty sure this move got nerfed to have less scaling too. So if you're a newcomer and you're still struggling with this move, imagine what we had to deal with back in the day. Man, so much less scaling. Still to 286. That is very nice. Lucario was also pretty on the slow side in field phase. I think he still is. So having the speed boost just helps him around maneuver a bit, even if his field phase isn't the best. But a lot of the time, Lucario will like to just keep his opponent in dual phase. At least I think he should, because just keeping them in the phase he prefers and then just doing a million damage. Like, this is already 206, and then your opponent, if they don't have their burst, just has to keep dealing with it. And that's not even counting Jirachi too. Like, if you keep them at the corner like this, that is 250 damage. He just keeps up so much pressure. He's pretty quick for what he is right now, especially in this, as he's like the Shoto character. So he's just pretty good all around with a lot of his options. And then you just like throw it all together, and it's just like this character deals a million damage, and Jirachi does not help. Though this move is indeed kind of a bit useless, but I catch people off guard with it all the time. Yeah, level 3 Aura Sphere, even though it's a cool Kamehameha, not the best. I think level 2 even does more chip damage, 567. Yeah, I mean, it does only 3 less, but it's still funny. It does more damage on hit, but it's so easy to tell. It's not, and you can just counter through it. All around, this character's so dumb that Alistair has Mega Lucario banned in his Twitch chat. Stomp. But Lucario's weaknesses in this mode, similar to Sceptile's and Warriors, not really that many. You could take advantage of an opponent who's just going to try to rush it at you and not think of anything else. Say if you were able to jump that in time. They do recover quick from it, but if you do it early enough, you might be lucky and land on them. Either way, they're going to have to deal with the fact that they might get hit there, and that is kind of risky in their own part. But besides that, Mega Lucario kind of has not many weaknesses besides the fact that it doesn't last forever. He just has a ton of tools that fit every situation, so he doesn't really have any pronounced weaknesses when he just goes unleashed in his Lucario Doggo mode Mega and obliterates your entire health bar in very few hits. At least when it comes to trying to hit him. What you could try to avoid him at all times, and that can waste out his burst mode. Of course, he is pretty decently fast and has all these long range moves, so that is always something to look out for. And a good Lucario player will know if you're going to try to jump away and try to run away again that they could do this or body block you and do JY. But even if it's for a brief amount of seconds, trying to waste his burst mode is a pretty good thing to do all around. I guess you could say that for every like character on this list, is just like trying to avoid it all times. But in this case, Mega Lucario's main option for trying to get in is indeed this. And while it's a good option, it's linear in the sense of, oh yeah, they're totally going to use it. They're in the range to use it. They're definitely going to use it. But if you are trying to avoid it, then it could be very good. Minus the, you know, potential that they call you out. But yeah, compared to everyone else on this list, he's definitely the easiest to run away from, I feel. That said, he could also just chase you down with his burst attack too, which is plus unlock, so have fun. And then there's Shadow Mewtwo. Maybe I am going from like worst to best. Actually, no, Sceptile's is better than Lucario's, but Shadow Mewtwo's is another step up. If Shadow Mewtwo was able to be in his burst a lot longer than 8 seconds, this would be even a bigger terror in the entire community. Though I guess being 8 seconds can also be a tiny benefit, because sometimes he'll get his burst twice per round. Being a 100cc character, you'll be seeing this burst mode a lot, and it just so happens to be one of the best in the game. Let me just start up and talking about field phase a lot. I've also been talking about dual phase, but field phase gets affected a lot with this character. You'll see it when these shields that usually don't even last that long when he's out of burst start lasting forever and can be used in ways where the opponent just can't do anything. Especially if they're in the corner. I'm not the really best at using them like this, but I think they also close in slightly. There's also, of course, this, which there's now 5 of instead of 3, so have fun doing with this. He deals a lot of pressure in this phase, like they are slowly going in on me. I don't know why it's like that. These two moves can be used in conjunction with one another, and can really put the pressure on the opponent, breaking their block. Or a lot of times you'll see Shadow Mewtwo players, when their burst mode is about to run out, they'll try to set up with this and then force him to hold a block, so they take a bunch of chip damage, because that does a lot of chip by itself, as you can see right here. It can be very troublesome to deal with in field phase when you're trying to get in with a character and you're just forced to block. Zoners also have a lot of trouble because if they ended up trying to shoot a projectile through their, say, force field, screens right here, and they burst attack, you're going to get hit. And this does a pretty good amount of damage too. Sir, would you like to get hit by 246 damage? Not even counting if he's in rage or like any other buffs. Frogadier also helps with his pressure too in field phase too, if you ever want to go for that. Or there's a lot of good supports for Shadow Mewtwo, but that was just the first thing I thought of. But you know what makes this burst attack even stronger than what it normally is that when you're up against the wall, you'll take more damage after a certain amount of hits. After the first hit, that will deal more damage. That's supposed to scale a bit, but it didn't scale because it counteracted each other. So imagine when you land this move, and it does more damage. It's especially devastating during combos. That did it like around 100 by itself at the beginning, and now it's doing 115, and that can make all the difference. Sometimes it just makes it even more absurd. Like 268 like that. Like, look at all that damage, and that's not even counting the Nova part of the Dark Nova. Gotta love that damage. What else changes about Shadow Mewtwo besides these two changes? Like, of course they're about Miracle Eye. They're like, you know, his main stable thing. Well, guess what? Shadow Mewtwo is one of the characters that changes the most in this. To start out with his 6Y, now his hit stun on it. With the pillar, as opposed to when he's out of it where it doesn't have hit stun until you do this. Or until the last hit. Of course, against certain characters, this could be a death sentence. Like Blastoise, who already struggles with normal pillar. If you pay attention to like how other players may be fighting against Shadow Mewtwo, how often they get hit by one hit and then block, because in Wii U it was nerfed from how it is now to where the first hit was like this for base Shadow Mewtwo. When you consider the fact that it's still retained like this, how many times, like I said, people will get hit by the first hit and then start blocking, you're gonna be getting hit by this a lot. Shadow Mewtwo also gets the enhanced JX, which is big. Charging, it pierces. One of the weaker things when you're not in burst mode with JX is that it can be kind of linear with how it is sometimes. Like, you'll travel a little bit, but sometimes it's kind of awkward unless you're like a master, in which case you know when to use it. But in this case, it's just very dumb because look how big it is. And then, of course, you can combo into that. You also get an enhanced 5Y, which it's a meme. This move hits farther than it should. Why is that hit? I just first tried that. It's so funny. I'm losing my mind right now. Oh, and of course this is enhanced too. Sorry, buddy. Took all that damage. What else? What else? Oh, yes. His counterattack now combos into burst attack. Because why not? It's not supposed to combo usually unless there's like a wall. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Because it's Shadow Mewtwo. I'm the final boss character in this game. You will die by my hand. And as you can probably tell, his physique also changes a lot. This can change different combo routes for certain characters. Not too much, but like he is very different, especially since he's just standing there and not floating. He also has this for pressure because it's +4 on block, because why not? And also knocks them down while doing 110 damage. I did not know it did that much damage. That's very healthy for the game state. I think he even... That's funny. I don't even know if that's optimal at all. It probably isn't. I think just doing this in the burst mode is more optimal. The fact that he could just do that. Also, yeah, 5Y hits that high too for some reason. Oh yeah, this is the thing too. Now, normally his 8X isn't really that good, but this is pretty decent pressure tool. Not the most common thing you'll see because he just has a million other options. Basically, Shadow Mewtwo is all about all the chip damage he can deal when he's about to leave it. At least in field phase, he'll go for it a lot. Sometimes he'll go for it like from this distance too, because it goes pretty far. Doesn't go into his burst animation if you do hit it from super far away, but it's still going to get all that chip damage. He's basically just a sick character in this mode, and I don't mean that in like the cool way. I mean, he's like literally disgusting with how much chip damage you can do, how much pressure you can do. You can't even, like I said, counter against that. Just have fun piercing. And that did 115 by itself. Oh, that's fun. Oh, and especially with JX too. Because you can jump cancel this. If you see the opponent counter this instead, you could probably do that, or even uncharged one to just beat it out. But yeah, now that we've talked about like how Shadow Mewtwo is in this mode, a pressure king himself, let me talk about the unblockable, because there's another difference I didn't bring up yet, in that when you do Miracle Eye, the pillar moves back a lot quicker. It does it a tiny bit, I think, in regular mode, but in this mode, does it a lot quicker, and it's kind of dumb to the point where it gets unblockable. Kind of like that. You'll find a lot of subs like that are just cheeky, and well... another thing I didn't mention until this point, because Shadow Mewtwo also gets enhanced grabs. You saw that. I got that. It's a pretty cool grab element, and also he has one in field phase too, because of course we're not. So you'll be dealing with that too when you're dealing with all his blocking, doing a lot of chip damage to you, dealing with his pressure, and then he decides to mix you up with one grab that's 165 damage. Kind of toxic, not gonna lie. Of course, this only lasts for 8 seconds too, but you'll be probably seeing that a lot. Shadow Mewtwo's are very good at optimizing what they should be doing in these situations. You'll probably succumb to the fate of getting hit by an unblockable by certain Shadow Mewtwo's, or you'll just get hit by a burst attack combo, because a lot of the time they'll either want to reset from something and go into the unblockable, or you just do burst attack right away. So either way, you're dealing with one or the other. This is not a mistake. Huh, that has more hits on it too. That's fun. Anyway, how to deal with this mode. It's very hard. It's like the most you'll take in this, you'll take a lot of chip damage you want to try to avoid the situation entirely. But also, because Shadow Mewtwo is a squishy boy, if you do get the opportunity to get in, his burst mode isn't going to be lasting very long, and if you hit him one good time, he's probably going to be out of it in the next second. That said, fighting this mode, well, fighting Shadow Mewtwo in general is very hard to get a hit in. That's why he's kind of the glass cannon. He has a lot of opportunities to just mix around, teleporting around, being able to just glide away from his problems, or, you know, use all the stuff I mentioned before to just oppress the opponent in a situation where they can't fight back. And that is what makes it annoying. Now, you might just have to succumb to the fate that you're going to have to just stand there and then take a grab maybe sometimes and just wait for the burst mode to come out. But if you do find that opportunity to get a hit in, say Shadow Mewtwo tries doing this and you decide to jump and you get like are lucky like Lucario and just do your JY, you could get a situation like that, but it's going to be kind of rare. You got to try to fight back best you can. Using your own burst mode is very good in these situations to break his pressure very briefly, especially if you can get him into an air tech situation. Say if he's going to use Vortex right here. If you go into burst mode right then, and of course this means if you have burst mode, or Umbreon could also work too if you want to just alleviate the pressure, you can put him into an air tech situation and then take your turn a tiny bit, and maybe if you don't even hit him, you're at least wasting time by making him block. Getting in his face like that can be very good, but only if you can get a confirmed way into it, because if you're trying to approach, he's going to have all these options like 6Y or his giant 8Y to contest you. Now this character slot, it's in no specific order of like which is the best burst mode of the game. It's mostly just like how frightened I am to see it, and I feel like a lot of the time I'm more afraid of Braixen's than my other consideration for this part of the list, which was Chandelure. Chandelure's is also crazy. In this case, I'm going with Braixen right now, and Braixen's burst is she's always enhanced. Now, if you don't know Braixen, she usually has an enhancement where she uses Sunny Day, where she'll go into this enhancement. But because she's always in it, then, well, she could just do this and get an attack buff, which you normally have to do twice in order to get. Now, what else changes in this mode is not much, actually, because most characters who have an enhanced mode like this will only have the change of just being enhanced. But in Braixen's case, it's really dumb because this is a very good pressure tool. Flamethrower is absurdly powerful. I did 2 moves and they're still in the face in 242. And of course, it's enhanced too, and it's a very good tool to lock the opponent down. And then, of course, you'll always get those attack buffs so you can even do more damage if you feel like it. You know, if you just feel like it. Because something like this is not uncommon to see. Is hitting Flame Charge and then just immediately doing that. Only for them to buff themselves again. Braixen was already pretty good when enhanced to have pressure. And when she just has it at all times, it can make it absurd for what you're dealing with on block. For example, say your opponent gets hit and you have to do a Dragonite knockdown. This is something I've been seeing recently. That is a full block steering, I'm pretty sure, and then you're in a red shield situation. Some characters who are weak shields, but their shield would be broken already in that situation. I'm pretty sure there are setups to where that even breaks the normal types of shields like Lucario's. So it makes it so you don't have synergy anymore once it does break. She just puts you in a sticky situation where Braixen will just destroy your shield with your meter, destroy your life, because then it's time for her to attack, and then she can just knock you down again if she feels like it. And of course, she's a character who gets synergy quick, so even though Dragonite's supposed to take long, he'll just come back right away because she'll be spamming Sunny Day and all that. Another quirky thing about Braixen is that when she lands Burst Attack, she gets her support gauge to go way up, which is another way it just continues to go up. Not just from that, because there's a second part to it. I don't know why it's separated into 2 different parts, honestly. That's lovely, sweetie. Yes, work it. Now use your Dragonite in the corner again. You'll probably see this actually a lot, too. Fire Spin does a lot of chip. We'll break their shield. Just imagine this is all a thing, because I'm not knocking it down because I'm lazy. And then your shield's broken. Can do that. And then, as you saw, should get Dragonite again. It's so dumb. Not really many changes. It sort of just Braixen if she was fully unleashed and was able to do all of her stuff as normal, like I said. And when you account for all that, it's very dumb. Sometimes Flame Charge could be dumb, and some of the hits will just be above the opponent and not connect with the shield, so if they try jumping out, they get hit. That's a dumb thing. You get all this push-up back from Light Screen. Deletes projectiles, obviously, too. Psybeam is amazing pressure. Like, this pressure is insane. Fire Spin's good for Okies. Fire Blast, actually, like, you usually wouldn't want to waste your enhanced mode on Fire Blast, but because you have it all the time, it might be occasionally useful. Because, like, it just does a lot of shield damage, and, well, you know, shield damage is like her bread and butter. And that's not even counting her 8x, which, you know, just helps with all this. Now, this scenario isn't really the best to bring up against Lucario because Lucario does have a DP, which can get him out of the situation. But if you try counterattacking Flame Charge off of 8x, you're in for a rough time. And then you take a melee damage and you're still in the corner. So, highly recommend do not do that unless you have like something like a DP. But either way, she could also just mix you. So even if you do DP, she could just escape. So even if you do DP, have fun. She might mix you up instead. Ah, yes, this is healthy for the game state. Flame Charge, man. 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 And then finally, of course, it's not even counting her field phase, which is already spectacular. Side beam can be very annoying in this field phase. And she can cancel her neutral Y and side Y moves into burst attack if she ever sees you do a counter attack just to try to CADC it. Because you'll get caught because this thing is huge. Not much damage, but considering everything else about it being huge, easily reactable to punish people with, and, you know, being able to get her support back up, especially long supports like Dragonite, for her to do her silly shield break nonsense, she just has very much so control, and some of her zoning tools are pretty destructive towards characters like Machamp or Blastoise. How to play around this mode is similar to how you would want to play around in neutral against an enhanced Braixen. So I guess to give it like that. Just of course remember that her A moves are always going to stay enhanced and not just a one and done scenario. As a tip for dealing with something like Flame Charge, this situation only works against counterattacks because it's like hitting the counterattack early on. But if she does it like later into a counterattack, which you'll sometimes see when she does something like this, you can usually be able to counterattack and punish her, even with slower counterattacks like Empoleon's, because it would hit his counterattack later into it, and then she'll be more punishable. Yeah, other than that, it's just kind of your usual business. Of course, she is the best character in a reason, so she's not going to have too many weaknesses compared to other characters, but you know, she's basically perfect. Kuwa. I hate myself. But you know who's even more perfect? Tis the Gengar. This character's stupid. This is the best character in the game when he's in burst mode. There's no doubt about it. He's just clearly the best. I don't even know what his upstance does in this mode, but everything else I do know. He got all new moves. His entire moveset changes, and it's for the worst because he just becomes extremely overpowered, and it lasts, I think, the longest in the game, so that is even more fun. Now, I did say I will go over most of the move changes for characters. I may have missed a few back for the other characters, but I think it's just fine to say that. I'll just bring up some of the highlights, and I probably will go over everything, but first off, this move turns into Sonic the Hedgehog. Does a lot of damage, as you can see, by 110. It can be charged, and he's invincible when he's charging. I'm pretty sure he is. It's comboable, at least if you land it like later into the move. Like that, wow, and that hit like late, that's crazy. But yeah, this also changes. It's very good shield pressure. A lot of his A moves stay the same, I'm pretty sure. I don't think any of them really change too much. Oh yeah, that looks like he goes into the air, but he doesn't actually go in the air. This character's dumb. All right, Curse. Always knocks him down. Always does hit stun. Kind of dumb, kind of like the least of our worries in this situation, but you know, it's fun. Astonish stays the same, but you know, it's Astonish combo, so that's usually his bread and butter. It'd be pretty weird if it changed for the worse, but either way, here's some more changes he has that are very dumb. He has this is a poke. It's a pretty dumb poke. And then, of course, there's his beams. This is a low beam. Totally not toxic at all. This is a high beam. Totally not toxic at all. He can teleport around depending on which direction you pick. And you'll be hearing that noise a lot when you fight Gengars. His counterattack is also absurd. You can't jump it really unless you do it very early because it hits this high, and you know he does a million damage with it. His usual JX where he does a headbutt turns into aerial Sonic the Hedgehog, and you can see how much damage it's doing. 132, and he can cancel this, remember. So that's fun. His Shadow Ball becomes even bigger, I think. I guess that's the main thing for that one. And of course, when you see a Mega Evolution, you probably would expect a grab change. That does a million damage as well. It also steals synergy because why wouldn't it? So have fun getting your burst to combat Mega Gengar if he ever gets that off. Which there is a way to land that consistently because Hypnosis also has a few changes. For one, he doesn't go behind the opponent anymore, but he can combo into pretty much anything, including his grab burst attack. This is the threat that makes Mega Gengar especially scary. You might get a knockdown against Mega Gengar. Then you might want to do an Oki option. If you do a super obvious Oki option, such I guess as Lucario's 6X, you're in for a rude awakening when you realize that Mega Gengar has in fact a frame 1 invincible burst attack. That's a grab. And because it's a grab, that means you can combo off of it from this. It'll have some scaling to it, but the main thing you want to draw from this is that this burst attack is the strongest burst attack in the game. I think it does the most damage, and it will entirely break you if you get hit by it. If you decide to counter against him, which you might want to do sometimes because you're like, oh, I'm afraid of all his, like, you know, different attacks. Well, guess what? He's doing 5-0 Ys and he sees you countering. You're getting crit, grabbed, attacked. There's no way out of it. Now that's the only way he can combo into his burst attack, and I'm not even sure the exact amount. I know it's just less than 264, I think. Please tell me it is. Oh, thank goodness. That's so much more reasonable. 250 damage off of a safer command grab to do, so you can guarantee you land the burst attack. Oh, you know what's even more disgusting? Know how his Shadow Ball can be disappeared when you go for a grab? That concludes his burst attack. That's lovely. This is not a mistake at all. I love this character. And because you're like, oh, he has the grab, I want to jump a lot. Well, you already saw all these other options. I've been hit out of the air so many times by this move because the stupid laser rises from the air and hits him. But there's also the 8Y, which you can angle or charge it up and hits everywhere, because why not? There's 4 of them. There's 4 of them. Different sizes too. I didn't notice that. I think I just mentioned all of his dual moves, which is funny. Besides this, but this is the same. So let's go to his field moves. So let's see. He has this, which is, I think, is faster than his usual side Y. Back Y is this. I think it's pretty much around the same. He moves a lot. I did not know how quick. Why does he move so quick? I never knew he moved this quickly. I think I just used to the opponent just spamming projectiles in this mode. I did not realize how quick he is. Whoa, that's insane. And okay. Anyway, so here's another beam in this mode. Goes from low to high. Wow, that's just like these two moves combined. Do you know what's dumb about it? It pierces, because why not? Because as if having a thing that already beats counterattacks in a frame 1 invincible grab attack wasn't enough. He needs it for fighting against long-range counterattacks too, or trying to eat out his other projectiles. Yes. Wait, 312. Oh, that's fine. That's fine and dandy. It's half most characters' health. What do you mean? I mean, I haven't seen it that much, admittedly, but like, really? His homing also gets enhanced. 1,000,000 damage. He gets in your face even more. Basically, he becomes the perfect character. I already said it with Braixen. She's basically a perfect character if you're reasonable. Like, you can play around Braixen's if you're smart enough. Like, some characters are going to have a hard time because they can't get in against Braixen because she has a good time pushing them away. But Gengar just has a good time just hitting you whenever you feel like it. I'm struggling here, but Gengar can just do whatever he wants in this mode because he can teleport all over the place. Decide, oh yes, I want to get in your face now. I think he even mix you up like that now. Okay. Oh yeah, if he does 1 hit, because he can cancel 1 hit of these 3 into a cancel. So you can just be like, oh, sorry, did you pull block? Oh, I guess you're dead. Bye-bye. It's not even counting if he does hit your block. I'm pretty sure it would be safe on block. But then you got to remember that sometimes people like using buffing supports. I've seen some of these people use Mew. And if you get a crit buff, then guess what? You're dealing a 312 damage if they just block. Not counting attack buff. Sir, would you kindly get away from me? Look at his face. He's just like, yes. I will break you. Break your kneecaps with my shadow puddle. Farewell. Literally taking you to the shadow realm. Sorry, was there more I want to talk about in field phase? I actually forgot. Wow, he moves so faster than that. I think that's pretty much all the moves. Wow, I think his moveset goes down so much when he's in burst mode, but he's going to be using those moves a lot because they're all ridiculous. And, you know, I'm glad with that. He doesn't have like a 4Y or a 6Y. This is just 5Y. Of course, as you could expect, a lot of these moves are probably +2, like especially this one. All around oppressive. The character takes Gengar a while to get into burst mode, but when he goes into burst mode, it lasts forever. And because it lasts forever, running away is not a valid option a lot of the time, especially all these projectiles. As you can probably see, he can literally cross you up with 8x by holding forward. Because why not? This is a healthy character for the game. And sometimes it just feels like I get cheated because like I work so hard, and then my opponent it's Mega Gengar, and then I die because of it. And I'm like, dang, I guess I got outplayed. No, I didn't. Put me on scrub coats, I'll take it. Yeah, kidding. But Mega Gengar, pretty dumb, but I'm glad it's on a character like Gengar who isn't the best character already, but can be the literal best character in the game if he could just stay in burst mode. And, well, he'll be like that for, I think, like 18 seconds. Can basically just do what every character wants to do, but better. Yeah, that's just basically Mega Gengar. How to beat it, try to run away, and then hopefully you'll get a lucky hit in when they get careless. Like, say they're trying to do counterattack in your face. And you see, oh, cool, I was running away, and now I'm in the corner. They're going to try to counterattack us. They think I'm going to try to attack back or something. Jump away, or something. I guess you can jump away sometimes if they aren't going to go for 8x. And try to do 8Y, because maybe you'll be able to avoid trust over them in time. I don't know. This character is just very dumb. You might get a bit lucky. You might not get a bit lucky. You might perish. You probably will perish. But yeah, that's the video. I'm struggling today. Dang. Who knew my anger would just go up just by talking about Mega Gengar? Everyone else I was just totally fine with. And then Mega Gengar showed up, and I'm like, man, I just hate life itself. But hey, Pokken's Pokken, and synergy bursts are supposed to be good. It's just that certain ones are super good. Every burst mode in this game is pretty good. but this is just absurd. I want to thank you all for going through this entire journey with me as I lose my mind going down memory lane of why these bursts are kind of dumb. It's mostly Gangars that's ruining my brain space right now, but thank you again. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and we'll be back with more Pokken content, and hopefully it will make me less stressed about just looking at Mega Gengar hit me with Burst Deck 5 times in a row. But hey, this outro is good because it's a fade out. Bye-bye!